I walked in without saying anything and just froze. My Amel was eating while my mom was washing dishes, shaking from the cold. My husband yanked the plate out of her hand and yelled, "Stop with the dishes, bring more food, you lazy old hag." I quietly called my dad. 5 minutes later, everything changed. And before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. The meeting had been cancelled at the last minute, so I left work early. I was actually excited about it. I could pick up Zara from my mother's care early. Maybe take her to the park, spend some quality time together before Marcus got home. I pulled into the driveway of the house we lived in, Marcus's childhood home. Technically, his mother Patricia had given it to us as a wedding gift 5 years ago, though she'd kept her name on the deed for tax purposes. And she'd kept a key. I opened the front door quietly, not wanting to wake Zara if she was napping. That's when I heard the voices from the kitchen. My mother-in-law Patricia's voice, sharp and commanding, "Gloria, this fork has a spot on it. Wash it again. And while you're up, bring me more sweet tea. The good kind, not that cheap stuff you probably drink." I walked toward the kitchen, my footsteps silent on the hardwood floor. What I saw when I reached the doorway made me freeze completely. Patricia was sitting at my dining room table like a queen on a throne. In front of her was a full spread: fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, cornbread, sweet potato pie. She was eating slowly, deliberately, like she was performing for an audience. At the kitchen sink stood my mother, Gloria Williams. 60 years old, the woman who'd raised me alone after my father died when I was 10, or so I'd thought, the woman who'd worked as a home health aide for 30 years, taking care of other people's elderly parents while raising her own child. She was washing dishes, her hands were red and shaking. She was wearing a thin sweater, too thin for how cold it was in the house. The air conditioning was blasting, and I could see goosebumps on her dark skin. My mother has always been darker skinned than me. Rich, deep brown skin that she used to tell me was beautiful, even when kids at school called her names. Even when people in our own community made comments about her complexion. Patricia, on the other hand, was light-skinned. Fair enough that she'd probably been called red bone or high yellow. Her whole life, she came from one of those old black families that prided themselves on their light skin, their good hair, their membership in Jack and Jill, their sorority connections. She'd made it clear from the beginning that Marcus was marrying down when he chose me. My skin was darker than hers, though not as dark as my mother's. My hair was natural, not relaxed. My family didn't have the right connections. But this was beyond anything I'd imagined. "Mama?" I started to say. That's when Marcus appeared from the living room where he'd apparently been watching television this whole time. He walked over to where my mother was washing dishes and yanked a dirty plate right out of her hands. "Stop with the dishes and bring more food, you lazy old woman." His voice was harsh, angry. "My mother is still eating. What kind of help are you?" He threw the plate back into the sink. It shattered. My mother flinched. "My mother is a guest," Marcus continued, his voice rising. "Your mother is the help she needs to act like it." I stood there, unable to move, unable to process what I was seeing. My husband, the man I'd married, the father of my child, calling my mother the help, treating her like a servant, like she was nothing. "My name is Sarah Williams Johnson, and before I tell you what happened after I called my father, you need to understand how I got to this moment. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. My mother Gloria raised me alone, or so I'd always believed. She told me my father had died when I was 10. Heart attack. Sudden, devastating. She'd worked as a home health aide for 30 years, taking care of elderly people, helping them with daily tasks, keeping them company. It was hard work, physically demanding, emotionally draining. But she'd done it with grace and dignity. She'd put me through college, helped me become a graphic designer, supported my dreams even when money was tight. When I met Marcus Johnson at a networking event 6 years ago, I'd thought I'd found someone special. He was an accountant at a prestigious firm, educated, professional, ambitious. He treated me well, made me laugh, seemed to respect me. His mother Patricia was another story. From our first meeting, she'd made her disapproval clear. Not with outright hostility. Patricia was too sophisticated for that, but with subtle comments, little digs. "Oh, Sarah, that's a lovely dress. Did you get it at Target? Your hair is so interesting. Have you ever thought about relaxing it? It would be so much more manageable." "Marcus, are you sure Sarah's family can afford their part of the wedding? We don't want anyone to feel embarrassed." She came from what she called a good black family. Her grandfather had been a doctor. Her father had been a lawyer. They'd belonged to the right organizations, gone to the right schools, married the right people. In Patricia's world, there were hierarchies, light-skinned black people at the top, dark-skinned black people at the bottom, professional families above, working-class families, the talented 10th above everyone else. My mother, with her dark skin and working-class background, represented everything Patricia looked down on, but I'd married Marcus anyway. I'd loved him. I'd thought he was different from his mother. For the first few years things had been good. We'd had Zara, built a life together. Marcus had seemed to stand up to his mother when she made her little comments. Then 6 months ago we'd moved into this house, Patricia's house technically, though she'd presented it as a gift. You need more space for the baby, she'd said. And Marcus, it's your childhood home. It should stay in the family. She'd kept her name on the deed. For tax purposes, she'd said. She'd kept a key. In case of emergencies, she'd said. And slowly, over those 6 months, she'd started showing up more often. Just checking on my grandbaby. Just dropping off some food. Just thought I'd visit. 3 weeks ago she'd started coming every day while I was at work. My mother would be there watching Zara and Patricia would just stay. I didn't know what had been happening during those visits. Until now. What is going on here? I finally found my voice. Marcus spun around, his face showing guilt for just a split second before shifting to defensiveness. Sarah, you're home early. Your mama was just helping out. Helping out? I walked into the kitchen, my heart pounding. She's shaking from cold, washing dishes while your mother sits there eating? Patricia dabbed her mouth with a napkin, completely unbothered. Oh Sarah, don't be dramatic. Gloria offered to help. I can't do dishes myself. My arthritis, you know. I knew for a fact Patricia didn't have arthritis. She played tennis twice a week. You're 58 years old. My mother is 60. Why is she doing your dishes? Because dear, Patricia said with exaggerated patience, your mother is always here anyway. She might as well make herself useful. My son and I are guests in this house. This is my house. I interrupted. Mine and Marcus's house. Technically, Marcus said, his voice taking on a tone I'd never heard before. It's my mother's house. She owns it. We just live here. And my mother is a guest. Your mother is, well, she's here all the time watching Zara. She should help out. I turned to my mother. She was standing very still, her hands still in the dishwater, tears forming in her eyes. Mama, are you okay? She nodded, not meeting my eyes. I'm fine, baby. Don't make trouble. Don't make trouble. Mama, what's been happening here? Sarah, Marcus said sharply. This is between me and your mother. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. How long has this been going on? My mother finally spoke, her voice quiet. About 3 weeks, since Miss Patricia started coming every day. What does she make you do? Sarah, really? Patricia started. I'm talking to my mother, I snapped. Then, more gently, Mama, what has she been making you do? My mother's hands trembled in the water. She asks me to cook, to clean, to serve her meals. She says since I'm here anyway I should earn my keep. Earn her keep? I whirled on Marcus. She's watching our daughter. That's helping us. She's also eating our food, using our electricity. Our food? Our electricity. This is my house too. Actually, Patricia interjected, it's my house. The deed is in my name. I'm allowing you to live here. So technically, yes, Gloria is using my resources. She should contribute. I felt like I was in an alternate reality. This couldn't be happening. Mama, why didn't you tell me? Gloria finally looked at me and I saw the tears streaming down her face. Marcus said, he said, if I complained you'd have to choose between your husband and your mother. He said, you'd choose him, that I'd lose you and Zara. I turned to Marcus. You said what? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. I just meant that Sarah shouldn't be put in the middle of family drama. You threatened my mother. Told her she'd lose her daughter and granddaughter if she spoke up about being treated like a servant. Oh, for heaven's sake, Patricia said, standing up. This is so typical. You people are always so dramatic about everything. You people, I repeated slowly. Yes, you and your mother, working class, dark-skinned, always playing the victim. Gloria should be grateful that we allow her around our family. Do you know how many people told me not to let Marcus marry you? Because of your background? She said background the way someone might say disease. Because your mother is dark-skinned and common. Because you don't come from the right kind of black family. But I was generous. I allowed it. The least Gloria could do is show some appreciation by helping out around the house. I stared at this woman who'd been making subtle digs for 5 years. This woman whose son I'd married, whose granddaughter I'd given her. This woman who was a bigot. Not against white people, but against darker-skinned black people. Against working-class black people. Against people she considered beneath her. Get out? I said quietly. Excuse me? Get out of my house. Now, this is my house. Then I'll get out. Mama, get your things. We're leaving. Marcus grabbed my arm. Sarah, you're overreacting. I pulled away from him. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a number I hadn't called in a while. A number I'd been told to use only in emergencies. My father's number. Raymond Williams. The man I'd been told had died when I was 10. Who'd actually been alive this whole time. Who'd come back into my life 2 years ago with an explanation, an apology, and a secret. Daddy, I said when he answered. I need you now. It's urgent. His voice was immediately alert. What's wrong, baby girl? You okay? Zara okay? We're fine, but I need you here. Please. Where are you? At the house. Marcus's mother's house. I'm 20 minutes away. Sarah, what's going on? Just come. And Daddy? Yes? Bring Uncle Jerome. Jerome Matthews was my father's best friend and lawyer. There was a pause. That kind of problem? Yes, sir. Don't you move. I'm on my way. I hung up. Patricia was laughing. Actually laughing. You called your daddy? What's he going to do? Isn't he a postal worker or something? What's he going to do, deliver some threatening mail? I looked at her. This woman who knew nothing about my family. Who'd never bothered to ask. Who'd just assumed. You don't know anything about my father. I know he abandoned you when you were 10. I know your poor mother had to raise you alone. You don't know anything. Marcus was pacing now. Nervous. Sarah, this is between us. We don't need your father involved. You made this about family when you let your mother treat mine like a servant. So yes, we need my father involved. We need everyone involved. Who else did you call? Marcus asked suspiciously. Just my father. But you're about to meet people you didn't know existed. The next 20 minutes were the longest of my life. I sat with my mother holding her hands, feeling how cold they were. She was still shaking. Patricia remained at the table finishing her sweet tea, acting completely unbothered. Marcus paced, checked his phone, looked out the window, and I waited for my father to arrive and change everything. The doorbell rang exactly 20 minutes after my call. I opened the door. My father stood there. Raymond Williams, 62 years old, tall and distinguished, with silver threading through his hair at the temples. He was wearing an expensive suit. Armani I recognized, and his presence filled the doorway. Behind him stood Jerome Matthews, his best friend and lawyer. 55, sharp-dressed, carrying a leather briefcase. And behind Jerome was another man I didn't recognize. 50s, also in an expensive suit, also carrying a briefcase. Hey baby girl. My father kissed my forehead, then immediately looked past me to where my mother stood in the kitchen. His jaw tightened when he saw her hands, still red from the dishwater. Jerome, Thomas, come on in. They entered, all three of them filling the small living room with their presence. Marcus stepped forward. Mr. Williams, I appreciate you coming, but this is really just a family misunderstanding. My father held up one hand and Marcus stopped talking immediately. There was something about Raymond Williams that commanded respect without him saying a word. I don't believe I was speaking to you, son. He walked past Marcus like he wasn't even there and went straight to my mother. Baby, you okay? My mother's strong, proud, dignified Gloria, who'd raised me alone, crumpled slightly. Ray, I'm fine. Don't make a fuss. Did he call you the help? She didn't answer. My father's voice was quiet, but somehow more menacing than if he'd yelled. Did this man call you the help? I answered for her. He did, and worse, he called her lazy. Said she was lazy. His mother has been making her cook and clean and serve her for 3 weeks. Is that right? It wasn't a question. He turned to Marcus. His voice was so cold I actually shivered. You want to explain to me why my wife is washing your mama's dishes? The room went silent. Complete, total silence. Then everyone started talking at once. Wife? I said. Wife? Patricia shrieked. Gloria's been widowed for 15 years. Wife? Marcus echoed. My father held up his hand again, and everyone stopped. Sarah, your mama and I got married 18 months ago. Small ceremony. Just us and Jerome and a few close friends. We were waiting for the right time to tell you. Didn't want to make a big announcement. Didn't want to overshadow your life. I stared at my mother. You got married? 18 months ago, and didn't tell me? Baby, I'm sorry. We were waiting for the right moment. But now, my father continued, his voice still that deadly calm, now you need to know, Gloria isn't just your mama. She's my wife. And she deserves respect. Patricia had found her voice again. This is ridiculous. She's still just a home health aide who— Ma'am, my father's voice cut through her words like a knife. I'm going to stop you right there before you say something you'll regret. Jerome stepped forward, opening his briefcase. Perhaps we should clarify exactly who Mr. Williams is, since there seems to be some confusion. He pulled out a folder. A thick folder. Raymond Williams, founder and CEO of Williams Development Group, commercial real estate development company specializing in mixed-use urban properties. The company currently owns or manages 45 buildings across 5 states. Annual revenue approximately $180 million. The company's net worth approximately $95 million. Mr. Williams personally serves on the boards of the National Urban League, the NAACP, and Morehouse College. He is also the founder of the Williams Foundation, which has a $20 million endowment dedicated to providing full scholarships to HBCU students. I watched Marcus's face drain of color. Patricia had gone completely still. Jerome continued. Mr. Williams has been named one of the top Black entrepreneurs in America by Black Enterprise magazine for the past 7 years running. He was honored at the White House 2 years ago for his philanthropic work. And Gloria Williams, Jerome looked at my mother with genuine warmth, is his wife, which means she has access to everything he has. And you, Jerome turned to Marcus, had her washing dishes like a maid. The silence that followed was absolute. Patricia was the first to find her voice. That's impossible. Gloria lives in a small apartment, drives a 2015 Honda. She works as a— Gloria lives modestly because that's who she is, my father said. She volunteers at the senior center 3 days a week, mentors young girls from the neighborhood, donates her time to the community. She drives a Honda because she likes it, says it's reliable. I offered to buy her a Mercedes, a BMW, anything she wanted. She said no. He looked at my mother with so much love it made my heart ache. She doesn't care about impressing people. She cares about helping people. That's why I love her. Then he turned back to Marcus and Patricia, and that love disappeared, replaced with cold fury. But she's my wife. She has access to my homes. All 3 of them. She has access to my accounts. She has her own credit cards with no limits. She could buy this entire neighborhood if she wanted to. And you had her washing your mama's dishes. I didn't know, Marcus said desperately. She never said. She didn't say because she's humble. My father cut him off. She doesn't need to announce who she's married to. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. But you? He pointed at Marcus. You saw an older Black woman, darker skinned with a working class background, and you decided she was beneath you, that she should serve you. That's your prejudice, your colorism, your classism. Patricia finally stood up, trying to regain some dignity. Now wait just a minute. We didn't know Gloria had married some developer. She deceived us. She deceived you. My father's eyebrow rose. How? By not announcing her marriage to someone you never bothered to ask about. By not flaunting wealth to impress people who'd already decided she was beneath them. You made assumptions based on the color of her skin and her background. You saw a dark-skinned woman who used to be a home health aide, and you decided she was the help. That's not deception. That's your bigotry. Thomas, the other man who'd come with my father, finally spoke. Mr. Williams, shall I explain my role here? Please do. Thomas opened his briefcase. I'm Thomas Reed, senior partner at Reed, Morrison & Associates. We specialize in civil rights law, including cases of discrimination, harassment, and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Marcus said. Nobody abused anyone. Elder abuse, Thomas continued calmly, is defined under California law as physical abuse, financial abuse, abandonment, isolation, abduction, or other treatment resulting in physical harm, pain, or mental suffering. It also includes deprivation by a care custodian of goods or services that are necessary to avoid physical harm or mental suffering. He looked at my mother. Mrs. Williams, were you cold while washing dishes today? Yes, my mother said quietly. The air conditioning was set very low. I asked if we could turn it up. Patricia said no. She liked it cold, said if I didn't like it, I could leave. Were you fed the same food as Mrs. Johnson? My mother shook her head. She told me to eat in the kitchen. Said the dining room was for family, not help. Thomas made notes. And you were coerced into providing household services under threat of losing access to your daughter and granddaughter. Yes, that constitutes emotional abuse and coercion under California elder abuse statutes. Thomas looked at Marcus and Patricia. You could be criminally charged. You could also face civil liability. Mrs. Williams could sue you for damages. Patricia's face had gone from smug to panicked. This is insane. We didn't abuse anyone, she was just helping out. Helping out, my father said, his voice like ice. Would be asking politely if she could assist with something. Maybe offering to do it together. Definitely not ordering her around like a servant, making her eat separately, keeping the house freezing cold and threatening her with losing her family if she complained. That's not helping out, that's abuse. He turned to me. Sarah, pack your things. You and Zara are coming home with us. Home, I said. You didn't think your mama was living in that little apartment, did you? That's her volunteer housing. She stays there when she's doing her community work. Our actual home is in Buckhead. 6 bedrooms, pool, guest house, plenty of room for you and my grandbaby. I stared at him, then at my mother. You've been living in Buckhead for 18 months and still volunteering in the old neighborhood? I like helping people, baby. My mother said, money doesn't change who I am. Marcus finally found his voice. Sarah, please, don't leave. We can work this out. I'm sorry, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I said. You just assumed. You saw my mama and decided she was beneath you. Beneath your mother, someone who should serve you. I don't know if I can forgive that. Over the next hour, my father laid out exactly what was going to happen. Marcus, you have a choice to make. You can recognize what you've done wrong, get therapy and work to earn Sarah back, or you can stay here with your mother and lose your family. But understand this. Sarah has somewhere to go. She has family who will support her. She has access to resources you can't even imagine. She doesn't need you. She doesn't need this house. She doesn't need anything from you. Marcus looked panicked. I'll change. I'll tell my mother to leave. I'll apologize. Apologies are easy, my father said. Change is hard. If you want to prove you can change, here's what you need to do. First, your mother leaves. Not just today. Permanently. She gets no key to wherever you live. No access whenever she wants. No control over your life. Second, you move out of this house. Find your own place. A place you own or rent. Not your mother, where you make the rules. Third, therapy. Individual therapy to deal with why you let your mother control you and turn you into someone who abuses elderly women. And marriage counseling. If Sarah agrees to try to save this marriage. Fourth, you apologize to Gloria. A real apology. Face to face. And you never ever disrespect her again. Do all 4 things, and maybe Sarah gives you another chance. Don't do them and you lose everything. Patricia jumped up. This is outrageous. I won't be banned from my own son's life. Marcus, tell them no. Marcus looked at his mother, then at me, then at Zara, who'd woken up and come into the room, looking confused. Daddy? Zara said sleepily. Why is everyone yelling? I picked her up. It's okay, baby. We're just talking. Marcus looked at his daughter, then at me, then at his mother. Mom, he said finally, you need to leave. What? You need to leave. And give me your key to this house. You can't come back unless Sarah says it's okay. Patricia's mouth fell open. I gave you this house. You ungrateful. You kept it in your name. Marcus's voice rose. You kept control. Mr. Williams is right. You've been controlling my whole life. I'm 35 years old, and I'm still letting my mother tell me what to do. That's pathetic. He turned to my father. I'll do everything you said. All of it. I'll move out, get therapy, apologize to Mrs. Williams. Everything. But Sarah, he turned to me, I know I messed up. Bad. I know you might not forgive me, but I want to try. I want to be better. For you. For Zara. For us. I looked at this man I'd married, who'd just spent the last hour being revealed as someone I didn't know. Someone who could be cruel. Someone who'd absorbed his mother's prejudices and acted on them. But also someone who, when confronted with the truth, seemed willing to change. Maybe, I'm still leaving tonight. I need time to think. Time to process. Time to figure out if I even want this marriage anymore. But Sarah, no, you don't get to rush this. You broke something. Maybe it can be fixed. Maybe it can't. But I need time to figure that out. I turned to my father. Can we go? Already called the movers, he said. They'll be here tomorrow to get your things. Tonight you and Zara come home with us. Patricia stood up, grabbed her purse. If I leave now, I'm never coming back. You'll be dead to me, Marcus. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. Then I guess I'm dead to you. Goodbye, Mom. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. And just like that, everything changed. My father's house, my mother's house, our house, I supposed, was in Buckhead, one of Atlanta's most affluent neighborhoods. It was beautiful. A sprawling estate with manicured lawns. A circular driveway, a fountain in front. Inside was even more impressive. High ceilings, marble floors, art on the walls. Tasteful, elegant, expensive, but it was also warm. There were photos everywhere of me as a child. Of my mother, of my father, of the three of us together from recent years. Mama, I said as she showed me to the guest wing. An entire wing with a bedroom, bathroom and sitting room just for me and Zara. Why didn't you tell me about marrying Daddy? About all this? She sat down on the bed. Baby, I didn't want you to think I was replacing your father. Your real father, the man who raised you until he died. And I didn't want you to think I'd gotten married for money. I didn't. I married Ray because I love him. Because he's good to me. Because after 30 years of being alone, I found someone who sees me, not my skin color, not my background, not what I can do for him. Just, I understand the skin color thing, I said quietly. Not the background thing though. What does that mean? My mother sighed. Baby, Raymond is wealthy. Very wealthy. And he comes from wealth too. His parents were doctors, his grandparents owned businesses. He's what Patricia would call good black stock. But he doesn't care that I was a home health aide, that I grew up poor in Southside Atlanta, that I never finished college. He loves me anyway. I wanted to make sure you understood that before I told you. I didn't want you to think I was some gold digger who trapped a rich man. I hugged her. Mama, I would never think that. I'm just glad you're happy. And I'm glad you finally told me, even though it took Marcus abusing me to make it happen, especially because of that. Because now everyone knows. No more secrets. No more letting people like Patricia treat you like you're less than them. My father knocked on the door. Ladies, dinner's ready. I had the cook make Zara's favorite chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. And I may have gotten her some ice cream for dessert. Spoiling her already, I teased. I've got 18 months of granddaddy time to make up for. She's getting spoiled and you can't stop me. Over the next 3 months, Marcus did everything my father had demanded. He told Patricia she couldn't see him until she apologized to my mother. She refused. They didn't speak for 3 months. He moved out of Patricia's house and found his own apartment. A modest 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was his. He started therapy. Individual sessions twice a week with a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and emotional abuse. And he asked me to do marriage counseling with him. I agreed, though I made it clear I wasn't promising anything. The counseling sessions were brutal. Marcus, our therapist Dr. Robinson said during our 3rd session, walk me through your thought process when your mother told Gloria to wash dishes. What were you thinking? I guess I wasn't thinking. Mom has always been in charge. What she says goes. I learned early that it was easier to just do what she wanted than to fight her. So you let her abuse your mother-in-law rather than stand up to her. I didn't see it as abuse at the time. I saw it as, I don't know. Mom said Gloria should help out. So I thought that made sense. Did you think about how Gloria felt? Marcus was quiet for a long time. No. I didn't. I didn't think about her as a person with feelings. I thought about her as Sarah's mom. As someone who was there. As someone who should do what we asked. Why? Another long silence. Because she's darker skinned than my family. Because she came from a working class background. Because my whole life, my mother taught me that people like Gloria were beneath people like us. And you believed her. I didn't want to believe her. But yeah. Deep down, I did. I sat there listening to my husband admit that he'd thought my mother was beneath him. That he'd absorbed his mother's colorism and classism and bigotry. It hurt. God, it hurt. But at least he was being honest. Sarah, Dr. Robinson turned to me. How does it feel to hear that? Like someone stabbed me in the heart. I said, Marcus, I loved you. I married you. I had your child. And you thought my mother was beneath you the whole time? Not the whole time, he said desperately. When we first met, I thought you and your family were great. Different from my family, but in a good way. Real grounded. But then we moved into Mom's house and she started coming around more and she'd make these comments. Little things. about your mom's skin, about her job, about how you married up, and slowly, over time, I started seeing things her way. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain how it happened. Do you still see things her way? I asked. No. God. No. After meeting your father, seeing how he treats your mom, seeing the kind of man he is, successful, powerful, but still humble and kind, I realized everything my mother taught me was garbage. Your mom is an incredible woman. She raised you alone. She worked hard her whole life. She helps people. She married an amazing man who treats her like a queen. She's better than my mother will ever be. I'm ashamed it took seeing her husband's bank account to realize that, at least, he was honest about that too. 4 months after the incident, Patricia reached out to Marcus. She sent a letter, a long, rambling letter about how she'd been thinking and praying and had come to some realizations. The letter said she was sorry, that she'd been wrong to treat Gloria the way she had, that she wanted to see her son and granddaughter again. Marcus showed me the letter. What do you think? I think your mother is lonely, and wants her family back. I don't think she's actually sorry. How can you tell? Because nowhere in this letter does she actually say what she did wrong. She says she may have been insensitive and perhaps came across badly. That's not an apology, that's justification. Marcus read the letter again. You're right. She doesn't actually admit to anything specific. If she was really sorry, she'd say, I treated Gloria like a servant. I made racist and classist comments about her. I taught my son to disrespect her. I'm sorry for those specific things, and here's how I'm going to change. But she doesn't say any of that. Marcus wrote back to his mother. A short letter. Mom, I appreciate you reaching out, but I can't have a relationship with you until you genuinely apologize for what you did. Not vague statements about being insensitive, but actual acknowledgement of your actions, and not just to me, to Gloria and Sarah too. When you're ready to do that, we can talk. Patricia never responded. 6 months after everything happened, I made a decision. I decided to give my marriage another chance. Not because Marcus had fixed everything, not because I'd forgiven him completely, but because he'd done the work. He'd gone to therapy faithfully. He'd moved out of his mother's house. He'd set boundaries with Patricia. He'd apologized to my mother. A real apology, face to face with tears and genuine remorse. He'd proven he could change. I'm not moving back in right away. I told him. We're going to date, like we did before we got married. You're going to court me again. Prove to me that you're worth staying married to. I will, he promised. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if I have to. We found our own house, a modest 3-bedroom in a nice neighborhood. We put both our names on the deed. No more of Patricia's gifts with strings attached. My mother and father helped with the down payment, despite Marcus's protests. Family helps family, my father said. And Marcus, you're family now. Not because you married my daughter, but because you're doing the work to deserve to be family. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. Don't tell me. Show me. 2 years after the incident, we always called it the incident, never really wanting to say what had actually happened. We had a family dinner at my parents' house. It had become a tradition. Sunday dinners. The whole family together, me, Marcus, and Zara. My mother and father. Sometimes Jerome and his wife. Sometimes other family members. Patricia was never invited. She tried to reconcile a few times, but she'd never given that genuine apology Marcus had asked for. Never admitted what she'd actually done wrong. The last time she'd tried, about 8 months ago, she'd said, I'm sorry if Gloria felt disrespected, but you have to understand, I was just trying to maintain proper household dynamics. Marcus had hung up on her. She died 6 months ago. Heart attack. Sudden. Marcus had grieved, but not the way I expected. He grieved for the mother he'd wished he'd had, the mother who could have loved him without conditions, the mother who could have been kind, but he didn't grieve for the mother he'd actually had. Is that wrong? He asked me the night after the funeral. No, I said. You're grieving what you lost, or what you never had in the first place. That's valid. Now, at Sunday dinner I watched my daughter with my mother. Zara was 5 years old enough to help in the kitchen, and my mother, Grandma Glory, Zara called her, was teaching her to make sweet potato pie. Like this, baby, my mother said, guiding Zara's little hands as she mixed the filling. Gentle. We're being gentle with it. Why, Grandma? Because good things take time and patience. You can't rush quality. My father stood nearby, watching with so much love in his eyes it made my heart full. Ray, my mother said, stop hovering and come help. Zara needs someone to hold the bowl steady. Yes, ma'am, he said, moving to help his granddaughter. Marcus stood next to me, watching the same scene. Your parents are amazing, he said quietly. They are. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I'm sorry I let my mother's poison infect how I saw your family. I know you've said sorry about 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. 10,000, however many you need to hear it. I leaned against him. I don't need to hear it anymore. I need to see it. And I do. Every day. Good. Because I never want to go back to being the man I was that day. The man who called your mother a lazy old woman, who treated her like she was nothing. She was never nothing. She was always everything. I just couldn't see it because I was looking at her through my mother's eyes instead of my own. That night, after dinner, after Zara had fallen asleep in the car on the way home, after we'd carried her inside and put her to bed, Marcus and I sat on our porch, on our house, that we owned together. Can I tell you something? Marcus said. Always. I'm glad everything happened the way it did. I turned to look at him. You're glad? Not glad that I hurt your mother. Not glad that I was that person. But glad that I got caught. Glad that your father showed up. Glad that I was forced to see who I'd become. Because if he hadn't shown up that day, if your mother had just kept suffering in silence, I would have kept being that person. I would have kept letting my mother control me. I would have kept looking down on people I thought were beneath me. I would have taught Zara to think that way too. He looked at our daughter's window. I would have raised her to be like Patricia, to judge people by their skin color and their bank accounts, to think she was better than other people. But because your father showed up and showed me who I really was, I get to be different. I get to raise Zara different. I get to teach her that people's worth has nothing to do with their skin color or their job or their money. I get to teach her that her grandma Glory is a hero, not because she married a rich man, but because she raised an amazing daughter while working 3 jobs. Because she helps people. Because she's kind and humble and strong. So yeah, I'm glad it happened. Because it made me better. I took his hand. You made you better. You did the work. Only because you gave me the chance to. We sat in silence for a while, holding hands, listening to the night sounds. Finally I said, do you know what my mother told me last week? What? She said she forgives you. Completely. She said you were a good man who got lost for a while. But you found your way back. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. She said that. She did. She also said that if you ever call her a lazy old woman again, my father will make you disappear and no one will ever find the body. Marcus laughed through his tears. That sounds like something Mr. Williams would say. Mama said it. Daddy just nodded. We laughed together. Then Marcus got serious again. Sarah, I love you. And I love your mother. And your father. I love the family I married into. I'm sorry it took me so long to appreciate them. To see them clearly. I love you too. And I'm proud of you for changing. For being brave enough to face who you were and decide to be someone better. Our daughter is going to grow up in a house where everyone is valued. Where skin color doesn't matter. Where class doesn't matter. Where the only thing that matters is kindness and character. That's all I ever wanted, Marcus said. Then that's what we'll build, together. I'm Sarah Williams Johnson. I'm 34 years old now. 2 years ago I walked into my house without saying anything and just froze. My mother-in-law was eating while my mother washed dishes. Shaking from the cold, my husband yanked a plate from my mother's hand and yelled, "Stop with the dishes. Bring more food, you lazy old woman." I quietly called my dad. 5 minutes later, everything changed. Because my dad wasn't just anyone. He was Raymond Williams, CEO of a $95 million real estate development company, philanthropist, board member of prestigious organizations, one of the most successful black entrepreneurs in America, and the lazy old woman my husband had abused. She was Raymond Williams's wife. My mother-in-law Patricia had seen a darker-skinned black woman from a working-class background, and assumed she was beneath her, had treated her like a servant, had taught her son to do the same. She never knew she was abusing the wife of a multimillionaire. Never knew my mother had access to resources and power that dwarfed anything Patricia had ever had. My mother never told them because she didn't need to prove anything to anyone. She knew who she was. She knew her worth. She only revealed it when she had to. When the abuse needed to stop, my father showed up with lawyers and documentation and made it very clear. Abuse his wife and you'll face consequences. My husband had to choose his controlling, bigoted mother or his family. He chose right. Eventually, it took therapy, boundary setting, moving out of his mother's house, and a lot of hard work. But he changed. Patricia never did. She died angry and alone, still believing she'd done nothing wrong. But we're here. building something better. Teaching our daughter that people's worth has nothing to do with their skin color, their background or their bank account. Teaching her that her grandma Glory is a hero. Not because she married a rich man but because she's kind and strong and humble. Teaching her that her grandpa Ray is a role model. Not because he's wealthy but because he treats people with respect and uses his resources to help others. My mother could have told everyone who she was from the beginning. Could have flaunted her husband's wealth and status, but she didn't. Because that's not who she is. She lives modestly. She volunteers, she helps people. She knows her worth without needing to prove it. That's real power, not control, not domination, not lording status over others, but knowing who you are and not needing anyone else's validation. Unless they mistake your kindness for weakness, unless they call you a lazy old woman and treat you like a servant, then you call your husband, your powerful, wealthy, influential husband, and you let him remind everyone who you really are. Not to brag, not to show off, but to stop the abuse, to protect yourself, to demand the respect you deserve. Patricia learned that lesson too late. Marcus learned it just in time, and now our family is stronger for it. We gather every Sunday at my parents' house. We cook together, we laugh together, we teach Sarah about her heritage, her culture, her family. We talk about her great-grandparents who were sharecroppers, her grandparents who built businesses from nothing, her grandmother who worked as a home health aide and never forgot where she came from. We teach her that success is measured in kindness, not bank accounts, but we also teach her, never let anyone treat you like you're less than you are. Know your worth, demand respect, and if someone refuses to give it to you, walk away. Or in my mother's case, call your millionaire husband and let him handle it. That works too. I'm Sarah Williams Johnson. My mother is Gloria Williams. She's a hero, a queen, a woman who knows her worth. And anyone who mistakes her humility for weakness learns very quickly how wrong they are. Just ask my husband. He'll tell you. The end.